This is literature study, and we are going to revise chapter 1 and then chapter 2 and chapter 3, and then we study chapter 4, and then so we have Age of Chaucer. I have already explained Chaucer as a representative and chronicler of his age. So he's writing about the broad trends of his age. And what were the broad trends? Catholic Church had become corrupt, and there were some people who are questioning the way church people were conducting themselves. We had Chaucer, and Chaucer is there, and then we have, in his prologue, we have various characters belonging to the church, and most of them corrupt. But Chaucer was not alone. He had his own predecessors, and what were their names, Fafa?
William Langlord,
Yeah.
Gower.
No, yeah. So do you have, can you name any of their works?
Piers Plowman.
Plowman, okay. So a representative, and then also he's representing the manner church has grown corrupt, and then he's representative in the sense that he also depicts how society around in his time was changing. So why society was changing? Because it was an age of transition, and Middle Ages were coming to an end and Renaissance was about to start. Okay, so he is representative in this sense, right? Representing that, both medieval age, transitional point, and then the new age. He represents the new age. Okay, and secondly, he was representative in the sense that, yes, Papa.
Economic development, middle class.
Yeah, middle class. Society was changing. In dark ages, we had just two classes, upper class and the lower classes, but now middle class was emerging. So here we have various characters from the business community, and most of them, they had been minting money through dubious means. We have Doctor of Physics, and he had made a lot of money during plague. So what is plague? Black Death. That is a disease, but thanks God, and we should thank those people from the medical sciences who have found cures for these deadly diseases. Okay, so Chaucer as a realist. So again, yes, we have continental tradition, and we had Angles and Saxons coming and then settling in England, and then bringing with them what? Sagas. Various romances are sagas which they had while they lived in Germany. So Anglo-Saxons are Angrez people, are the English people. They are basically Germanic people, and most of the people, they think that Britain is a Germanic country along with Germany and Netherlands. Okay, and Scandinavian countries, Austria. Okay, so Chaucer is a realist. So it's not delineating before us the pictures of demons, goblins, monsters. So he's just presenting before us real human beings. Chaucer and the common people, and then here Chaucer made common people the subject of his prologue. So these are just common people. So far as Miller is concerned, Doctor of Physics is concerned, Knight is concerned, Squire is concerned, various characters who are from the business community, business. So they are there. So all people. So only the lowest class is not there, and nobility is not there. So he's represented a poet in this sense. So all kinds of professional classes are represented here, right? Okay, and contribution to English literature, language and literature. Chaucer has this historical importance. He was the first one. So it's not that he just came for the first time and then he wrote all the excellent things. So he was basically a pioneer. So what was his contribution? That he, instead of choosing French, he adopted Middle English. That is, I think, the term that they use for it. But if you listen to Chaucer that was spoken, you can listen it on the internet. So you realize that it sounded more like German than English. And then this is how Anglo-Saxons speech dialect was. But then as they settled here, and then Norman invasion, and then Vikings and others, and Jutes and Frisians and so many other Germanic tribes came, and then so again English began to change, and then Norman conquest, and then Renaissance. Renaissance what? Greek and Latin words made their way into English language. So now English language that is the most widely spoken language in the world. And it's not that everybody, China has its various English language TV channels. France has France 24, Russia has Russia, huh? Russia Today, BBC, and then CNN, Al Jazeera, yes. Al Jazeera is also there. Okay, so his contribution, so he didn't choose French, he chose instead English. And then he chose a special dialect that was spoken around London, and this is how it became. So we have the standard languages. So when we talk about Pashto, so what kind of Pashto is there in when we talk about literature, Pashto literature? So we have a particular dialect that is, the spoken English, spoken are the kind of language that is spoken in Peshawar and Mardan. That is a standard. So far as Punjabi is concerned, I think Lahore in a Lahore city, वो जो है ना standard. So we make a something language, a particular dialect, a standard, and then we want that every other writer should conform to those standards, and he should be writing in that particular dialect. So Chaucer's contribution, and then this is okay. So and nothing more here. And then 15th century English poetry, and then English ballad. So ballads are the kind of stuff again warlike, huh? People stories about some king or a queen or a ballad, So it's about something. So I am not sure about it. Okay. So next जो है यहाँ पे हम देख रहे हैं कि chapter number 2 and influence of Renaissance and English literature. So I told you that Renaissance influenced all European languages. Hmm? So Renaissance was basically revival of ancient Greece and Rome. So other day I was listening that there were ancient Greek philosophy reached Europe through two means. Do you have an idea?
Ancient Greek civilization.
No. No. I'm telling you Greek philosophy. When Europe had dark ages at that time, no philosophy was taught. They had Emperor Justinian closed down Plato's academy. And then they said that we have this word of God, we have this Bible, and we don't need these pagan writers.
I think these philosophies were kept preserved by Muslims in Spain.
Yes. But so far as Muslims were concerned, they had not only they had Greek works were translated into Arabic, and then we had great Muslim philosophers like Averroes, Avicenna. So Avicenna is not, he's just not like a Hakim. He was a great philosopher, and also he was a physicist. So what kind of that law that he, law of, no, ilm momentum, law of conservation of momentum. If left at their own, things will move. We say that things are stationary. Suppose I am here, I have a mobile, and this is stationary. Why? Because gravity is affecting. But if suppose I have this mobile and then it is somewhere in space, then it will move at a uniform pace. It will come to a halt when it reaches some other planet or come across gravitational field. So this is great achievement on his part. So I have heard Avicenna's name in so many programs. Okay, so Avicenna is there. So Avicenna, even the Sean Carroll, great Sean Carroll. Okay, so influence of Renaissance on English literature. So Fafa, what was my main argument line of reasoning? I was telling you that Greek philosophy, and secondly, when Ottomans conquered Byzantine Empire. The Byzantine Empire that came to an end because of Turks, Muslims tried very hard to defeat Byzantine rulers or empire, but they failed. And then we have Turks, and then so many scholars who are living there. So far as Byzantine Empire is concerned, its official language was not Roman, not Latin, but Greek. Greek was a language. That was the case. So this is how we have, when we Muslims, they had this contact, they conquered Syria and other regions. So here they came across, they came in contact with the people who were Christians, uh, and then who are also well versed in Greek knowledge and literature and philosophy. So this is how Muslims, the Muslim golden age, we have
Muslim golden
golden age started. Okay, so this is how Greek philosophy, which was banished from the continent of Europe for so long, at last uh, it started making inroads into Europe again, because of Muslims, and also because of the fact that Ottomans had conquered Byzantine Empire, and Greek scholars fled to Western Roman Empire, and this is how Europeans, they started reading classical writers again. Okay, and this is how Renaissance is starting. So we have influence of Renaissance on English literature. So whenever we read any kind of writer, any writer. So my favorite is who? Yeah, that Charles Lamb. So here we have wonderful references to Greek mythology. So he is they say once say in an essay said, I'm like a Janus. So Janus is, according to mythology, is a kind of man or a god who has, he looks at the past simultaneously, looks at the past and the present simultaneously. So Janus is there. Similarly, so many references to Greek and Roman mythology. So those people who have read Greek and Roman mythology, then they, what, they love it. And whenever they write, they have references and allusions, and so even while we speak, we also sometimes we refer to so many things. So okay, so we had this Greek mythology. Okay, Greek mythology, and then the Romans, and then they had their pantheon, and then they had the wonderful stories, and then there were paganism. So paganism has good relationship, Papa. The influence of the Renaissance on English literature. Already I have explained. I have studied English literature and know that Renaissance has a tremendous influence in shaping English literature. So I was telling you about my favorite essayist, Charles Lamb, and he has his whole essays are saturated with these great references. So we have these allusions and references from Greek and Roman mythology. Similarly, we talk about another poet, an easy one, Milton. So how he was influenced by Renaissance? Papa, it is a question that I ask you.
Because he was well read in ancient Greek mythology, no, Greek literature.
Yeah, he had read ancient Greek and Roman literature. So in this respect, he was not a strict Puritan. So he was not a bigot. He was an open-minded person. So he was a widely read person, Milton. And that is why whenever we read Paradise Lost, we come to know that, yeah, again, we have a lot of references and allusions to Greek and Roman mythology. So it means that the person, the Milton, he must have read these works. So that is why he is eluding them, and he has. Okay. So Renaissance on English literature, I think that is a topic that you should study at your own. And now you have internet, and now you can type the same in your search engine. So go for not for the technical information, go for smaller and easier stuff. So if you write a question and then you have various links, then don't go for that one which is having a lot of loaded information, so which you can't comprehend at this stage. So go for the easy stuff. Okay, so influence of Renaissance. So now that is over, and then English drama before Marlowe, and we had church drama starting the whole tradition, starting from church, and then we had mystery and morality plays. Wafa. So mystery and morality plays. So what are these mystery and morality plays?
In mystery plays, characters are personified as goodness and evil, and
Okay.
characters are personified.
Okay, personified, and morality play is the one where So I will give you information, detailed information later on. So we have English drama before Marlowe. I like to summarize things, and then I want that we should go for the detailed study. So this is a summary, and then okay. So English drama before Marlowe. So we had this drama staged in churchyard. We have, Kierkegaard, churchyard. We had this great philosopher, Soren Kierkegaard. Okay, so churchyard, it was staged in churchyard, and it was basically religious in nature, these dramas, mystery plays and morality plays. So far as Hassan is concerned, this is quite enough. That literature, that drama is starting, has emerged from, from emerged from religious background. It has religious background. In what sense? Clergymen wanted the laity, the commoners, to be educated in Christianity. So what they did, they staged various kinds of plays and dramas. And what are the themes? Themes were derived from Bible.
Biblical
Noah's
stories.
flood, Noah's flood. What is Noah's flood?
It is biblical story.
Biblical story, Noah's flood, and then it is also part of Islamic tradition. Hazrat Nuh alayhi salam. Huh? So Noah's flood, so say Adam and Eve, Adam and Eve, and Adam and Eve, and then biblical stories. So far as so biblical themes were covered in were part of biblical themes were part of mystery plays. So we should know what are mystery plays. Mystery plays were those plays which were staged in churchyard, and these had biblical themes, like Noah's flood, creation of the world, Adam and uh, Eve eating the forbidden fruit, the fall, etc. And so far as morality plays are concerned, there we have a man uh, uh, whose soul is a battlefield. Or there are forces of good, and then there are forces of evil. Both of these forces are trying their hard to capture a person's soul. So we have this goodness and evil. Evil, you know what is evil and what is good? Uh, Beyond good and evil. Whose book is this?
Friedrich Nietzsche.
Yes, okay. So good and evil. So there are forces of good, and then there are forces of evil. So both of these forces are competing with each other to capture a person's soul. So can you uh, can you understand this whole thing? How is it that we have a person is there, and then suppose we have Satan. Suppose we can do good things in life if we follow religion in right sense. Suppose we are Muslims. We are Muslims, and suppose if we lead lives according to our religion, so it will bring good changes in us. If we become a good Muslim, then we also become good human beings. Okay, so then there are forces of evil. Suppose somebody is not religious, and he doesn't damn care about morality, or the fact how that one should live his life, life of a good Muslim, life of a good human being. So it means that he's lost to the forces of evil then. So these both, other day I gave you a very simple example. Suppose I am there, and I had this plan of going to the market, and then I say that I should go, and then one side say go, another side said Joe, leave it. Who will comb the hair and who will wash this face and then go 1 mile. So battle is taking place in my mind. So who wins? Suppose if I overcome my laziness and then I go, it means that I have been influenced by the forces of what? One is laziness, another is what?
Sloth.
No. Laziness, sloth. So laziness and sloth haven't been able to capture my soul. Okay, so this is how battle is taking place. So mystery and morality plays, and later on. So then interludes were also included. What were the interludes? Interludes were like brief, what they say, waqfa. And there they had gestures and the humor, huh? So these jokes and like stuff like that, that was just for the common people. So we need yes, solemn and serious things, and in between we have, you know,
Interlude.
interlude. And then this was, so far as I know. Okay, so English drama before Marlowe, I told you that this had religious origins. Okay, and then the drama, जो था, this religious drama, mystery, and these were like basic plays. They didn't have much depth. They didn't have well-developed plot. Most of the stories were from the Bible, but then comes Marlowe, and then his university wits. So Marlowe was part of a group of people who had been initiating new things. So that is why they had written drama, and then came Marlowe. And Marlowe, I already, university bits is there, and then we have this Shakespeare, and then Shakespeare's greatness, Shakespeare's comedy, tragedy, history plays. We will read these things later on because I'm not an expert. I'm not an expert in literature. So in fact, I'm not an expert in anything. So far as Shakespeare is concerned, first I will read it and then I will explain. And then Elizabethan sonnets. So already I had given you a brief idea that these were the poets who are mostly writing about courtly love. And then, love poem it was. And then sonnets were, so far as sonnets were concerned, these were like flowery language, decorative language. And then, callous lover, lover is there sighing, and then wanted to have union with the beloved, and then somehow, so kind of Urdu shairi stuff, right? And then these were Elizabethan sonnets, and then Elizabethan lyrics, uh, Elizabethan lyrics. Okay, and then we have Spenser, the poet's poet, and influence of Renaissance on Spenser. So Spenser is another important figure. I have already given a lecture about Spencer. And then this chapter 2, it comes to an end. And then we have Jacobean drama, Ben Jonson's contribution, yeah, comedy of humors, four humors, and then their excess, and that what whole thing. And then Bacon's contribution to English prose. And Bacon, did I explain?
Yes, sir.
Did I teach? Bacon and the Renaissance. And then English prose in the age of Milton, and then English metaphysicals, that I explained or no?
Yes, you have.
And then influence of Renaissance and Reformation on Milton. So this is a repetition of yesterday's lesson, and then we are going to study brief summary of chapter 3, and we have Jacobean drama. So I have no idea what is this Jacobean drama. And then we have Ben Jonson's contribution to English comedy. And here I like to give you a little bit of idea about four humors. So Greek physician Hippocrates, what is his Urdu name? Bukrat, I think. He was a Greek physician, Hippocrates, 460 BCE, 370 BCE. Are you looking at BCE? Is credited with this theory of four humors. So these are blood, yellow bile, black bile, and phlegm, and their influence on the body and its emotions. So somehow we have got this theory that we have these four, four ingredients, of a human body: blood, bile, and then somehow if they have imbalance, then it results in some kind of disease or some kind of strange abnormality in behavior. So we are normal human beings. We are supposed to act in a normal way, and whenever we have when we have these ingredients and somehow they have their excess and shortage, somehow there results some kind of abnormality. So how is it that abnormality results in humor? That is quite another debate. So I don't have anything to offer here. So we have this Ben Jonson, and other day we were comparing Ben Jonson with William Shakespeare. So what are the stark differences between the two? Both were contemporaries. And some people allege that it was Ben Jonson who had been writing this whole plays, which are now being attributed to. So this could be a conspiracy theory. So what are the differences between the two? Ava?
Ben
Shakespeare
Jonson belongs to classicism and
belongs to classicism, wrong, Angrezi. He was a classicist.
Shakespeare was romantic.
He was a romantic. Okay, he was a classicist and he was a romantic. And so far as Shakespeare was concerned, he was not a classicist. So he hadn't read Greek and Roman classical literature, right? So, but he's despite that he is being considered the greatest playwright in English language, and one of the greatest playwrights of all times. So if he was deficient in some respect, then he was fertile and productive in some other aspects. So Ben Jonson, classicist, and then how we see that he applies his classicism while writing his plays. So his plays conform to classical rules. So what do I mean, Fafa?
Three unities.
Three unities: unity of time, place, and action. So I think that you know that what are these three unities. Unity of action is that plot should be well knit, and then it should follow the strict rule of causation. If something happened, then it should have a sufficient reason or logical reasoning. So something should happen, and then it should have be the result of some what. And it should be the logical outcome of so cause and effect. So that's why we shouldn't have any kind of supernatural interventions, according to Aristotle's Poetics. So plot should be well knit. Okay, so plot and then unity of time. That the whole duration of a play should last 24 hours and not much. So if we have these rapid jumps, so one thing is happening, we must keep in mind the fact that we are talking about Elizabethan age, and then at that time we didn't have internet or television or any kind of recording mechanism. So these plays were staged. So that's how they thought that if suppose one act takes place at one particular time, and if the next act takes place after 2 years or 3 years, then the people who are there, viewers, they will not believe the whole thing. They will say that how is it that one thing, these were the characters, and this whole thing was happening now, and then another act is taking place after 4 years or 5 years. So now when we see that now we have these plays for TVs, dramas, soap operas, and also we have films, and then they don't follow unity of time. Similarly, unity of place is also like one act should be if suppose if one act is taking place in G11, then another act should take place in G10. So if one act is taking place in Pakistan, another act is there in Antarctica, then again people say that how is it that so they will think that this whole thing is unbelievable. So this is basically an element of bringing more credibility, to give play more credence, to make them more believable. Fafa? Okay, so we have this Ben Jonson, and he's being compared with Shakespeare, and Shakespeare, he mixes comedies with tragedies. So according to strict rules of classicism, this kind of liberty is not allowed. Okay, so yes. Okay, so how we should. So do we have Other ideas about Ben Jonson?
He wrote tragedy and comedy, but he is famous for his comedies.
Yeah, he's famous for his comedy, so I'm not sure whether he had written some tragedies.
I have read
Actually, it
read this.
could be, but we had this. So we had this wall pony. That was a comedy we while we were studying. Similarly, there are so many other of his plays. Alchemist, huh? Alchemist. There are so many. So you can. So Ben Jonson, and then Ben Jonson is being compared and contrasted with William Shakespeare, and William Shakespeare he violated unity of place. I'm not sure, but so far as unity of time, I know quite sure. But then, so far as his plots are concerned, plots are plots, Shakespeare's plots of his plays are, I think, believable. I don't think that Shakespeare's plays suffer from any kind of deficiency. So far as his unity of plot construction is concerned. So, can we find fault in Shakespeare's plots? I have found some faults in, the Othello, the play that I have read. Again, chance elements. There was an abundance of chance elements. And these are the chance elements that always go to the detriment of that girl. Her name is, Othello. And so in life, chance things do happen. But it's not that always things happen in random way. And we are always, sometimes it happens that we experience one loss after another. But to say that a human life is always beset, a particular person's life is always beset with problems. So that is, I think, that is quite unbelievable. So if chance things happens, then good things also happen. Bad things also happen. But if you have a playwright and then he's constructing or he's making a story in such kind of manner, when all kind of chance happenings are to the detriment of the protagonist, then we can question that plot. Now you got me or not?
These elements are present in Hardy's.
Yeah,
I read this.
Hardy's novels are the same. There again, because again so far as Hardy is concerned, he had this, supposition that somehow human beings they are alone, and then so far as God is concerned, and he say that President of Immortals, and then President of Immortal doesn't care for human happiness. Our President of the Immortal has this will and intent to thwart human ambitions, desires. So I read that novel of his, that novel, Return of the Native. So there we had a girl who lives in some English countryside, and then she has this ambition of settling in Paris and having this glamorous life. But then she's wedded to someone again. So again, chance things always happen. And these chance things always happen, and these cause suffering and grief to the protagonist. So in real life, nothing of that sort happens. Good things happen, bad things happen, then good things also happen. If you think that life is driven easily, just like life is like a random process. How? So life is not that much random. We have this continuity. So we have today, then we have tomorrow, and then we have day after tomorrow. So seeing things happen in logical fashion. But sometimes we have that all of a sudden, suppose we have a natural disaster. So nobody can foresee. Nobody can predict an earthquake. Similarly, other kind of things also happen. But so far as life is concerned, it goes on. But to say that, yes, some supernatural deity is against human happiness, and it has its will and intent to thwart human happiness, human desire, human ambition. That is, I think, that is, for me, that is quite unbelievable. You people there, you are following me or not? Understanding my point?
And also Ben Jonson was a reformer. He wanted to bring reform in Elizabethan drama.
Okay, acha. Okay. So what kind of reforms?
He wanted to introduce form and content.
Form and perhaps he realized that this, this whole thing, romanticism was going haywire. Huh? It was getting out of control. And we always see that whenever we have this, romanticism, and then we had entered into a period where we have romanticism, yeah, going towards decline. How? So I have seen this in literature, and also, so we have, something happens, and then, develops, and then it reaches a peak point, and then after that a decadence starts. So we have these romantics, but they were romantics not in the right sense. So there's a correct form, and then there is also a degenerate form. Okay, so
he had disdain for romantic comedies.
Okay, right. So he didn't like romantic comedies. So why?
Because they lack form and content, according to his view.
No. If he was saying that they lack, these do not conform to classical rules, then he can say the same about tragedies.
But he focused on comedies.
Comedies. So okay. So now this Ben Jonson, I think that is over. This is what I know about Ben Jonson. And comedy of humors, and then I told you that four humors, and how four ingredients, and how their imbalance causes problems. So again, that is something that you will read. You will have to read it at your own. So after that we have Bacon. So here we are on firmer footing. So I think that we have already discussed Bacon, and then Bacon was writing essays, and Bacon is quite famous for his style. So we have Francis Bacon, and then we have another Roger Bacon. Roger Bacon was a scientist or thinker, but he should be differentiated from Francis Bacon. So Bacon, he was an essayist, and in last Talim I told you that Bacon was much influenced by Montaigne. Montaigne was a French writer. So far as French people are concerned, I have great love for France, but I like Germany more. And so far as France is concerned, I like to add to your knowledge that the word France is after Franks, and this is how we got Firangi. So Franks were a Germanic people, and these were the people who later on they invaded a country that was called Gaul. Gaul was also Roman province. Gaul, okay, Hannibal. No, Hannibal, Caesar, Julius Caesar conquered. Julius Caesar also conquered Great Britain. Julius Caesar, and also Gaul. So the Frank, and then Frankish kings, various Frankish kings. So one Frankish king defeated the Muslims in a famous battle. If the Muslims had been the conquerors, the fate of Europe would have been different. France would have been under Muslim hands. So Franks, and then we have their most famous king, whose name is
Napoleon.
No, Charlemagne. Yeah.
Napoleon.
This is what we say that for that we have this anachronism. No, not anachronism. So there is a Shakespeare's play, I think it's Julius Caesar, and then there is a clock there on the wall. Clocks were not invented at that time. So you are placing something out of time. What you are saying?
Out of time.
No, you basically made a mistake. You are saying that I was telling you something about Montaigne and about French people. And then, yes, there's Frankish kings and Charlemagne. Yes, I was telling you about Charlemagne. So we are talking about one, medieval Europe. So Charlemagne was there. He was he is claimed by the Germans and also by the French. So there is a BBC's program, Germany History is My Witness. So that is a quite amazing series. Okay, so Charlemagne is both. Okay, so France, after Franks, Firangi, and Franks were also a Germanic people. So, but now France is a Catholic country, and they are not considered to be part of Germanic world. Okay, so Bacon's contribution to English prose, and Bacon was influenced by Montaigne, and he was also writing essays. So Bacon was also. So what kind of essays he was writing? Fafa, earlier we had discussed that he been writing objective essays. So what is objectivity and what is subjectivity? If I say that Islamabad is the capital of Pakistan, then the answer will be yes. Everybody would agree to the idea, would have to agree to the idea that. But if I suppose say that Islamabad is the most beautiful capital of the world, then here we can bring in our own subjective opinions. Somebody can say yes, it is, and for that we need to have knowledge also. If suppose you have lived all your life in a village, so how can you compare Islamabad with other capitals? Okay, so and then how much I love Pakistan. Everybody will be writing that essay, and then he will be expressing his own subjective. So there is Einstein's essay, The World as I See It. So in what manner Einstein is seeing, looking at the world. So everybody's angle at looking at the world is different. Whose angle is correct then? If suppose a small baby also looks at the world, and a mature man also looks at the world. So whose view is correct one? Whose judgment? Again, we have subjective opinions. Well, this is how this philosophy and various schools of thoughts have emerged. Basically, all of them, they are trying to make a picture of the world. So Bacon's contribution to English prose, he was writing small essays, and his essays were not subjective, these were objective. And he said that he himself counsels civil and moral counsel. So basically, these are advices to man. Bacon is offering advices, giving his advice to men as to how they should succeed in life. And then he is a moralist. Again, he is, the devil, the wisest, the brightest, the meanest of mankind. And earlier we had studied that Bacon, so far as his character was concerned, he was lacking in. He had betrayed his benefactor. He betrayed his benefactor, and then he was also, he enjoyed various official government positions, high positions.
He was accused for taking bribes.
Accused of bribery, taking
Yeah.
bribery, accused of bribery. He was accused, and then what else? And then that blot in his character, blot on his kirdar pe dhabba, blot on his character. So he betrayed his benefactor. So I think this is the biggest charge against him. Okay, so and Bacon, he's writing his essays, civil and moral, giving advice to people how they should succeed in life. Okay, success, and then his personal character, Bacon's personal character. Secondly, he's controversial in one respect, that it looks as if he's, another Machiavelli. Machiavellian figure. When you say that feed people on hope, so basically we are making fool of them. So if suppose he is offering his advices to the kings also. So advising, acting as advisors, as an advisor. So telling rulers why they should keep people on hopes, because if they do not do that, then they will face rebellion. So this is what he's advising to the rulers and the princes. Okay, and then his short essays and then his style. So far as content is concerned, again, Bacon's essays can be categorized through various, categorized in various what can be put in various categories, like moral essays, political essays, essays on empire and the statecraft, his essays on religion. Yeah, perhaps. So he writes on diverse topics. So this is the subject matter, and then we will, as we will study him in detail, then we'll discuss various his essays like on friendship, on marriage. Okay, so this is the content, and then again I'm having problem in telling you in detail the content of his essays. So far as style is concerned, style is you know if you suppose if you compare Bacon with Milton. Milton had also written that Areopagitica. So far as Areopagitica is concerned, it has long, convoluted sentences, decorative, and then full of allusions and references and quotations. So it doesn't make sense. So this is not prose. But so far as Chaucer is concerned, he is writing small essays, and his sentences are also short, precise. What else? We have few words: brevity, concise. These have brevity. He loads his sentences with lots of information, and these are condensed. So that is why few words they carry a lot of information. So this causes obscurity. Obscurity means उसका स्टाइल जो है धुंधला या समझ नहीं आता. So when you जब हम किसी चीज़ को बहुत ज़्यादा शॉर्ट करते हैं, तो that's why we have, when we have this school English or Urdu, when we say that ये explain these following lines with reference to the context, there we are explaining. So that is poetry, and what we are doing, this is poetic stuff, poetry stuff, and then we have to explain the whole thing in prose. So far as Bacon's writing is concerned, it is like that. So each and every of his sentence is packed with a lot of wisdom, and these are few words and having a lot of information. So obscurity is the logical result. But he should be credited with the fact that he started like modern prose. Okay, so modern prose one thing, but I was forgetting. Yes, again, Renaissance man. He is a Renaissance man. What he's doing?
Focus on materialism.
No, not focus materialism. Yeah, his essays have references and allusions. So when we read Bacon's essays, then we come across allusions and references to classical mythology, classical antiquity, perhaps to his own times. So what is it that we have learned about Bacon? That he was born in England, a Renaissance man, and then his personal character, the fact that he enjoyed important positions in the government of his day, and writing essays, and these are objective essays, and these are basically a kind of guidebook to people to make good in life. And he gives advice to common people and also to kings, to nobility. Okay, and then he's often criticized for being hypocritical in some ways. Yeah, telling people that how they should use knowledge, telling kings how they should effectively govern their subjects, offering dubious kinds of advices. So one is that one of his essays. I know that he said that whenever you are uh, you are having this aim and ambition to go up in high in life, then you should use some people, factions, and then once you reach your destination, then you can kick the ladder. So using people for your benefit. Similarly, telling people, emperors, rulers, how they should keep the people. So there are so many of his examples. So this is, Bacon, and then these are his essays. So these are not essays about philosophy or about his subjective experiences. Subjectivity. So Bacon, the man is there, yes. You can detect the man in his writing. The kind of stuff that he is writing. From that you can understand a person's mind. So that is why gentle Shakespeare. His message is gospel of peace and love. Similarly, so many other people, when you read them, then you can understand how they think, what kind of beings they are. So now you have this important question. So if suppose we are dealing with an author and he had written something centuries ago. So is the work that he produced is the product of his mind, or basically it is a reflection of the cross currents which existed at that time? So is a work a reflection of that time, or the fact that or the other contrary opinion is true, that a writer has in some ways has transcended the narrow limits of time and space? Fafa, you getting me or not?
No, I am.
No. When I suppose we say Shakespeare, so what kind of Shakespeare we have in mind? What kind of person he looks to us? What kind of person he appears to us? What kind of image we form of his character and his personality? So one thing that we know, that Shakespeare was highly patriotic, right? So he was on the side of England. So that is why they are blessed isle, a blessed isle. So similarly, so we can understand that he was patriotic and he loved England. What other he didn't? Yeah, that's right. So in that sense, Shakespeare is a reflection, product of his own time. England had defeated the Spanish. English had defeated Spain. They had defeated Spanish Armada. So that is why England jo tha, and then again England. England was, what is their manifest destiny. England was going from strength to strength. Okay, similarly, if I suppose I give you another, I mention another writer who is Tennyson. So in what respect Tennyson is a reflection of his own time? Yes, he was patriotic. He was the poet of the empire. So when we study Tennyson, we come across another person, another literary figure who emerged in another time period.
Shakespeare.
No, Shakespeare is there. He was living in Elizabethan England, but so far as Tennyson was concerned, he was living in Victorian age. So we can also learn a lot about the politics of the day, or the fact how society was moving, how society was acting, how society people were behaving at that time. So last time when I was telling you about Tennyson, I was saying that his poetry is a poetry of compromise. There were forces of religion and there are forces of science. So he basically wanted a compromise between the two. Okay, so I think that what we are now studying, I think that is getting over the head of. They are not understanding, both of them. So I think that now we should make matters more simple, and then we should again come to study, come to focus on Francis Bacon. Bacon and his essays, and I was telling you that Bacon was a product of his own time, and then the politics of his day is reflected in his works. Bacon's personality is also reflected in his works. So in some respects, he was a man without, the element of human warmth. If suppose he is giving these kind of dubious advices to the kings, that how they can prolong their rule, how can they can make fool of the people, then I don't think that he was a person of great, great personal dignity or integrity or worth, right? So when we study uh, a literary figure, of any literary tradition of any country, then we can discern the politics of the day. We can understand how people thought, how people acted, how people behaved at that time, what their views, how they thought, how they looked at the world. So a book जो है, a literary book is a product of that particular time. So I was telling you that when we study Bacon, then we also come to know about his times, the England of his day, and also the personal character of Bacon himself. Right? I think this is quite enough. Bacon and the Renaissance, already explained what Renaissance, references, allusions, all are there. And then again, he's telling people how they should succeed in life. This was also the zeitgeist, the spirit of the age. Everybody wanted to make good in life. People were getting into business, small business. So, acha. Okay, so now we have Bacon, and that's over now. Authorized version, King James Bible, and its influence on English literature, leave it. Only thing that I know about authorized version of King James Bible was that it had excellent translation, was masterpiece. It's because of its translation, or the literary devices, the manner it has been translated. So for that it has always been praised. So now after that we have now English prose in the age of Milton, and then English metaphysical poets, and then after that we have influence of Reformation and Renaissance on Milton's poetry. Acha. Are you tired now, Hafa? Okay. Okay, authorized version of King James Bible, and now we are now on a familiar turf, Milton. Milton had written Paradise Lost. He had also written Paradise
Regain.
Paradise Regained, Paradise Lost, Paradise. Saw a paper and it was written Milton was blind poet. So Milton had become blind. And Milton's age, what can you tell me about Milton's age, Fafa? England was passing through
a political instability,
yes.
Because at that
we had a person whose name was Cromwell, a religiously devoutly religious Puritan, and a pure extreme version of Puritanism, Protestantism, And these people, they come and then they think that this kingship is not compatible with Christianity. So English Civil War, and then king is beheaded. And what happens? Cromwell, he becomes
He established Commonwealth
Commonwealth, yes.
in 1642.
Okay, but then people, they have enough of him.
Then
Yeah, no, enough. They get tired because as they come, as the case with the religious people, they come and they say that only we, according to, they were Puritans, an extreme sect of Protestantism. So that is why they thought that this literature, theaters, poetry, that was unchristian. And then they also, not only that, they also established censorship. What kind of censorship? Every book will be subjected to a board of censors. So these people will be there, and then they will read, they say that whether this book should be published or not. So they established strict censorship, and Milton himself, he didn't like that because he didn't share their sectarian enthusiasm, sectarian approach. No, but in a way he shared their sectarian agenda. Why? How, Hafa? He was on the side of Cromwell. He was his Latin secretary. He was a Latin secretary, so that is why he endorsed. He was devout religious man, and he also he believed in Cromwell's ideology or philosophy of religion or the way he looked at. But then that English people, they had enough of Cromwell, and then what they did, what happened?
Then son of
What happened?
Charles II came from French and
So can you tell me how you can explain the whole thing, because we are literally having this little bit of information. What we are saying, we are just saying that Cromwell, he established the Commonwealth, and then king is beheaded, and perhaps his offspring, the rest of his family perhaps goes to France in exile, and then they return back, and this period is called Restoration period. So, but how that restoration actually took place? What happened to Cromwell?
I think he died.
He died?
He died.
Okay,
After
he
that,
died, but then he didn't have any successor?
No, after that, Charles II came to power,
Mm-hmm.
and then he enforced French style in.
Yeah, that's right. We know that he came from France, so that is why these French trends he introduced. So we will study it later on. What we are saying here is very simple thing. We are talking about Milton, and then Cromwell, he establishes a republic. He makes England a civil war, and then something happens to him. He dies. Sometimes his people, they start believing in that cause, and then perhaps English people, they want their kings back, and then kings return back, and then England again becomes a monarchy, and this period is called Restoration period. And after that, Milton lived a solitary life, and then we already know. Then those people, king and his party, they considered that he was a harmless blind person, aged, no threat. He was left at its own, but he lived a very solitary life. So Milton, and after that we have metaphysical poets. So metaphysicals, again, should we discuss metaphysicals now? Metaphysicals, they were a kind of people, a group of people headed by Donne, who introduced new kinds of trends in English poetry. So these poets were called metaphysical poets, and because of their style. Fafa? It was not because they were after metaphysics. So what is metaphysics? Beyond physics. What is, do you have free will? If determinism is true, or free will is true. So if all things are determined, then why we should blame people? Determinism and free will again, what is an ultimate nature of reality? Is this universe made for us, for human beings? Okay, so stuff like that. So we have physics and then we have metaphysics. Okay, so these were not philosophers. I like to put it, in simple words. Okay, metaphysicals जो थे, they were not philosophers. Their subject matter was not metaphysics. Metaphysics is a branch of philosophy. They were called metaphysical poets because of their style. So what kind of style they had? They had colloquial style. They had thrown out of the window this whole idea of Shakespearean sonnets, Elizabethan sonnets, or Elizabethan lyrics. Uh, Perhaps I'm talking about White and Surrey. No, I'm sure. White and Surrey, and these were the people who had been writing these sonnets. I could be wrong here. But I told you earlier that these were the poets who had been writing particular kind of poetry. So what kind of poetry it was? Elizabethan. So I told you highly flowery and decorative language. Uh, and then love was the theme. Love was the dominant theme. It was courtly poetry. So they thought that there should be a special language for poetry, and that special language highly decorative, and then it should be embellished in all kinds of ways. So the metaphysicals come and then they say that no, we have this, colloquial language. And apart from that, they introduced another innovation, which is that they borrow from various fields of knowledge, like geography, geography one thing, medical sciences, geography. So it looks quite strange if I say that someone is writing poetry in Urdu and he's drawing from material from the hospitals. Or from other. So okay, so they borrowed from geography, uh, astronomy, or astrology. Both are not the same. Astrologies, geography, medical sciences, stuff like that. So this looks quite strange. Strange because we think that there is a special language. Language for what? Special language. And then certain words we should not use. We don't use the word telephone. So we have these words, and that's poetry. And poetry, that is an altogether different tradition. It deals with emotions and passions. It deals about nature and feelings, etc. So metaphysicals were doing, they were borrowing from the sciences which existed at that time, various disciplines. So this created a strange kind of effect. So that is why these poets are called metaphysical poets. These are called metaphysicals because of their style, not because they were dealing with metaphysics, which is a branch of physics. Okay, and then secondly, colloquial, and then they had this one thing, conceits. So what is conceit? So conceit is a comparison between two things which are apparently dissimilar. So when we say that someone is like a rose, yes, someone is like Chaudhary ka Chand. So we are basically we are focusing on on similarities which are there. Someone is beautiful, face like Chand, Chaudhary ka Chand, beauty. But if suppose I say that someone's face is like James Webb Telescope. So this creates a kind of bizarre kind of impact. Or similarly, if I compare two things which look are not only these are dissimilar but have looks quite ridiculous at the surface level. So yeah, in Donne's poetry we have fleas, we have pair of compass. In one of his poems he compares two lovers with a pair of compass. What is pair of compass? What is compass in Urdu? Pair of compass, geometry. It has two needles. One is fixed, another is moving. When we make a circle, parkar. Yes, so we are comparing, per car with two. So one is fixed and another is moving. So that is, I mean, that is why the metaphysicals are metaphysicals, because of their grotesque and strange comparisons. These are called conceits. Or this thing, and then yes, another, that uh, metaphysicals, metaphysicals. Yes,
Imagination or
no, 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 not imagination. Yeah, yes, yes, done. Religious poetry and
love poetry.
love poetry. So he had his love poetry, and after that he began to write religious poetry. And his poetry is basically a kind of, Christ, centered on Christ, because he had become a minister. So I think that he had embraced Roman Catholicism. Done. And then rest of his poetry was religious. And then we had other people who were got influenced by, and what were their names?
Influence from
No, no, done. Yeah, his predecessors. Yes,
Robert Herrick,
Herrick.
Thomas
Yes.
Carey or something.
Uh-huh.
Carey. Abraham Cole.
Cowley. Yes, Cowley is there. Vaughan is there. Vaughan.
I have
Yes, Vaughan is there. Yes, Vaugn. Yes, Vaughan. Collar, his poem, his famous poem Collar, an interesting one. Interesting or जो है जबरदस्त, ठीक है. Okay, so with that, we bring to a close this whole thing, and after that, we will study Shakespeare. Milton, I have already explained, and then not only that, we have recorded that lesson, and I will send it to you. And after that, we have studied others. Yes, 17th century. We'll study Comedy of Manners and Dryden, take care, and the father of English criticism, and after that, we have any more familiar stuff. We come to, novels and poetry and romanticism, romantic movement.